Hello everyone, I am Tiago with Attack on Tiago, and for today's video, I'll be going over the critically acclaimed manga series Vagabond. But I'm not alone today. Joining me is someone who is a huge fan of this work, and so much so that he was the one who sort of pushed me to continue reading Vagabond, and that is YK.
Hi.
Alright, YK. We got a lot to cover in today's video. We're going to be discussing everything Vagabond related, spoilers, the story, characters, everything. But before we get into all of that, I want to do a quick synopsis of Vagabond for people who have not read the series or even heard of it. So, just really quickly, Vagabond is a retelling of the life of one of Japan's most renowned swordsmen, the sword saint Musashi Miyamoto, and his rise from a swordsman with no desire other than to become invincible under the heavens, to an enlightened warrior who slowly learns of the importance of close friends, self-reflection, and life itself. Just a little synopsis I found on my anime list, but I think it works pretty well. Doesn't give away too much, right?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
So, YK, when did you read Vagabond, and what made you want to read it?
I read it sometime last year because everybody said it's the best.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Which is fully true.
And when you were reading it, were you agreeing with it? Like, were you saying, like, oh my gosh, throughout the whole manga, were you loving it? Just absolutely saying, like, you think it's the best manga or one of the best?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I just started reading it, actually, about a few months ago, maybe. I think I finished about a month ago, maybe a few weeks ago. But YK was the one who sort of pushed me to read it. And I do agree, I think it is one of the best manga out there. And I am so glad to say that it was an amazing read. And it definitely earns its praise. So, YK, so I know you say it's the best manga of all time. I've heard you say this before multiple times to me. So what are just a few things that you can go into on just why you think it's the best manga of all time?
I think the way that the characters are written in, like how it's formulated with the character writing and how development is made. Because usually in a manga, there's, the start point. Then there's something that happens that causes a development. But with Musashi, he really just develops every chapter as part of his growth. Which is something that rarely happens in manga. There's also all the philosophy parts, which are pretty cool.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that, actually?
Well, the priest man, Takuan, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Okay.
Well, he says a lot of things which are actually tied to Buddhism and their holy scriptures. And I don't know if you knew this, but Musashi actually became a philosopher later on in his life.
Oh, I actually didn't. No.
Yeah. So, if Vagabond ever continues, it would probably become very philosophy-heavy.
Yes. Yeah, so for people who don't know, Vagabond actually right now is on hiatus. So it is not completed yet, but me and YK are both obviously caught up with the manga itself. So what about like the fights, the drawing, like the manga panels itself? Like what else do you like about the series?
Well, I mean, the art is just incredible.
Yes.
I
would say it's... Yeah, keep going.
It's did you know it's water drawn?
Did I not what?
Did you know it's water drawn?
No, I didn't. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I think, I mean, now that you brought it up, the fights, I mean, I don't think the fights themselves are really all that good, but the way the fights affect the universe, I think is really well done.
That's a pretty good point. I kind of agree with that. I think some of the fights are not as how do I say this? Not as impressive as I thought they'd be, but I do agree with what you're saying about how the fights do affect the universe itself and building upon that.
Yeah.
So, so for me, why I like Vagabond, I think it's just crazy also to see how this is actually someone's real life and how they're becoming this renowned swordsman and seeing their growth from it. Like, I actually didn't know that this was based on true events. I actually thought this was fictitious when I first started reading it. And then, obviously, as I keep going, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy that this is actually, a lot of this happened. And I love the characterization of the main character, Musashi. I know you're not going to necessarily like the comparison, but he draws a lot of comparisons to Guts for me as a character, and who's also one of my favorite characters of all time. And I absolutely loved it. I think the cast is slightly weaker, I would say, than most manga, for the only reason that it's focusing on Musashi and then a few other characters as well. So overall, I wouldn't say it's like a grand cast, but that doesn't necessarily hurt it. Because again, it's focusing on this one man's journey, and essentially another man later on in the story that we're going to talk about. But yeah, I just absolutely loved it. I love the setting. I'm a huge fan of history and the time period itself with everything going on. I love the culture of Japan and the samurai culture. I thought that was so cool. I mean, there's so much we can dig into with why we love Vagabond.
Yeah,
but
you made a great point there, how he's kind of similar to Guts. I actually never thought about that. But
really?
Right.
I think that was immediately what I thought of. I was like, wow, I think they're actually very similar. Because it's essentially, they're both very inspirational characters, seeing how they both essentially are overcoming these obstacles that are in front of them, and they will stop at nothing to achieve their goal.
Yeah, that's true.
And they both obviously had some dark history, but maybe Guts probably is a little bit more darker, but that's just Berserk itself. But I mean, I just loved both of their characters so much, and I think they really anchored an amazing story. So now that we mentioned it, I want to hear, why do you like Musashi Miyamoto? So he's the main character of Vagabond, and I know you said before that he is also one of your favorite main characters ever. So I want you to touch on him just a little bit for me.
Well, I think what really made Musashi for me was what I touched on a little earlier, like the way that he grows throughout the story. Because the Musashi that you see in chapter 1 and the Musashi you see in chapter 300 are very different.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
sure.
Because because you see all these small moments that at first they're worth nothing, both to the reader and Musashi, but then during later arcs he realizes how important these moments were, and he kind of grows with each battle. Like there's never an altercation that he comes out of without a new piece of growth.
Very true. Yeah, actually, real quick before you keep going, throughout the story, Musashi keeps wanting to challenge the best swordsman of all time, and he just wants to keep comparing himself to them and then seeing how he can get better. So, I mean, I'm saying this for the viewers. It's crazy seeing Musashi go up against these fighters, who some of them seem almost unbeatable, and essentially, if they seem like they're going to win, and seeing how Musashi then adapts and then overcomes that and grows and becomes a better swordsman as well through that, which is also awesome. But yes, keep going, please.
And you could argue he becomes a better person as well.
I think throughout the story he does.
Yeah, because when he's still known as Takeso, all he cares about is fighting and primarily really killing his opponents.
Yes.
But as the story goes on, like towards the end, he doesn't even. Well, maybe that's kind of a spoiler.
This is full spoiler video. You can go into whatever you'd like.
Oh, well, you see, closer towards the end, he doesn't even believe in using weapons.
Yeah, I was about to say, later on in the story, he sort of realizes, like, you know what, I think there's a little more than just fighting to becoming stronger. Yes, so, and using swords. So yes, keep going, please.
Which is... I lost my train of thought, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking about how, later on in the story, how he abandons swords, actually.
Yeah, and really how he kind of becomes this philosopher-like old man who just goes around and finds similar young men to himself and trains them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you read the final chapter?
I am all caught up.
No. There's like this extra one-shot chapters. That's like the end.
Oh, so not chapter 327.
Yeah.
Then I have not.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know there was actually another one. I thought
I
it
can
was...
link it to you later.
Okay, yeah, then actually don't say, so I'll read it later on then. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Musashi. I think seeing his growth with every battle, seeing his growth from the beginning on when, he was just obsessed with fighting and everything, and seeing then not only him overcome his fights, which are sick. Like, it's some moments we'll talk about later on in the video of, like, just awesome moments himself, but I think his growth and his development to where he is now has really cemented himself as a great character. But now another character I want to talk about, and it's someone I sort of mentioned earlier on, where the story sort of shifted a lot of its focus onto this character for a bit, and that's Kojiro, Sasaki Kojiro. And I think Sasaki Kojiro also is one of the best characters like I've read. I think he's one of the best supporting characters. And I want to hear, YK, what are your thoughts on Sasaki Kojiro?
Well, I think he's really cool, but I don't think the story has really gotten to focus on him enough to say a whole lot more.
That's fair. I really liked him with his backstory arc, which at first actually I was kind of iffy on, because they sort of shifted the story around halfway through, I'd say, about maybe earlier on. They sort of shifted the story to suddenly focus entirely on the backstory of this one character, and that sort of caught me off guard. I was like, I don't know if I like this. But then as the backstory arc went on with Sasaki Kojiro, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it tied in nicely with him.
Yeah, it does.
But what else do you have to say about Sasaki Kojiro? Is there anything in particular you like about him, don't like about him?
Well, I think he's gonna be really important to... Well, obviously he's gonna be... But I think he's gonna be really important to this kind of, spiritual journey Musashi has.
Right.
Because even though we haven't seen a lot from Kojiro, he has to have developed some sort of, idea around the world.
True, but at the same time, so something with Sasaki Kojiro I think is really interesting, real quick, because you mentioned that, is we don't see necessarily what he's thinking or saying because he's mute. He's deaf.
Yeah.
So we see his characterization through other people, essentially, and through his actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like what you're saying about the world itself, I totally agree with that.
But it is heavily implied that he, unlike Musashi, really enjoys battle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they essentially both enjoy battle, but it seems like now Musashi is straying away from that a little bit. But yeah, Sasaki Kojiro, early on, I mean, when he was a kid, he picked up the sword and fell in love with it. To now, like, he just enjoys battle, loves battling. Actually, you see a lot of his character through his battles, I think, actually. Which is actually a really cool depiction. But I absolutely love Sasaki Kojiro. I think he's a great rival to Musashi. I'm really curious to see what they do later on, because I think they're probably going to be coming head-to-head eventually. Wouldn't you say so?
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, isn't he like? I think I've read up a little bit like in history. They're supposed to be like the two main rivals, like two big sword saint rivals in history in Japan. So I'm assuming they're going to be coming to head to head.
Well, yeah, because they did fight, according to history at least.
They did, and they also met multiple times, especially during the war.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
They
what they do with
will
that.
definitely clash at one point.
Yeah. So then one more character I want to go over, and he's probably maybe the most controversial character in the entire series, and that's Matahachi, who I think I still don't like him, but he did grow on me a bit. But I still don't like him, I'll say. But YK, what are your thoughts on the character of Matahachi?
Well, he's great, but I hate him.
So, like, can you go into that? Why is he great, and then also why do you hate him?
Well, like, I hate him because he's so sleazy, but I think he's really well written as a parallel to Musashi.
Mm-hmm.
Because they both grew up together, they had similar upbringings, yada yada. It's essentially a mirror of what Musashi could have become had he not gone on the path he did.
That's true. That's very true.
Yes, so I think he's an important foil, and also this kind of growth he has throughout the series, becoming slightly less of a douche. I kinda?
Just kind of.
Yeah, not really, but kinda.
Yeah. And then, you can even go into a little bit of spoilers if you want. So what are a few things that you don't like about him? Because you said you also hate him as well. And you said he was a bit of a douche, but why, essentially, was he a douche?
Well, there's, firstly, that he's a womanizer, which, I mean, kinda shitty of him, because isn't he married?
He was gonna be married. I don't think I don't think he got officially married to Atsu yet. But also, real
Then
quick,
there's that scene with his mother.
His mother
abandons
sucks.
here.
I hate her mother. I hate his mother. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, same, but come on, it was his mother he had.
I know. It's true. I mean, his mother really went to lengths to save her son. I get it.
And then that whole thing he does where he pretends to be Kojiro.
Oh my gosh, he sucks.
Yeah.
So then with Matahachi. So YK touched on it. So him and Musashi, we see him early on in the story. They were the first two characters we get introduced to. There were two main characters. Matahachi leaves Musashi then when Musashi's fighting to go off with a girl when he was also going to be married to Atsu, who is I don't understand what Matahachi is thinking going off with a different girl when he had Atsu. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, Atsu's a catch. But Matahachi is he's a coward. He's the definition of a coward, and I don't know how he survived as long as he has. He faked being Kojiro. He literally is just sleeping around, and then he pretends that he could be better than Musashi when he keeps saying to himself, like, oh, I can grow to be a strong sword fighter just like Musashi, when he's not putting in the work and dedication that Musashi is. So he was very annoying, and I really hated him. But I will say, I was genuinely surprised when it was revealed that he was the narrator.
Wait, what?
Matahachi was revealed to be the narrator of the story.
Wait, when did that happen?
That was like, 2/3 of the way through.
Oh shit.
Oh, you didn't even know that? What?
I don't remember that.
That was a huge moment. I was like, wait, what? That caught me slightly off guard that Matahachi is the narrator of Vagabond and retelling this story.
Wait, actually, no, that makes sense because, how to put it? He's more likely to survive than Musashi due to reasons.
Well, yes, but yes, he is. I mean, Musashi's putting himself in front of danger constantly while Matahachi's running away. That's one. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, I was genuinely surprised he was a narrator. And then you actually see sort of a transformation with Matahachi, actually, at one point in the story, when he starts helping Musashi. When actually at first he was sort of just an annoying foil who used to be a friend, but just kept comparing himself to Musashi. So I agree with what you said earlier with him. He's actually very well written. But I still hate him.
He is, but he's such a fucking cunt.
Yes, 100% agree. Alright, YK, now let's get into some of our favorite moments. This wouldn't be one of our favorite manga, or essentially your favorite manga of all time, if there weren't some great moments. So let's go back and forth, let's just go over just a few of them, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So, YK, what is one of your favorite moments, or what is the favorite moment for you with Vagabond?
Probably when Musashi has fought the whole Yoshioka school, the whole monologue after that.
Ah, yes. Yep, that was awesome. Yeah, why did you like that so much?
Well, because I think that is the most important moment to Musashi throughout the entire series.
That's true. That sort of led him on his journey to getting stronger.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that.
Wait. No, that's the... No, like the second fight.
Oh! Wait, so the 1v70.
Yeah. Like
I thought you were talking about the very first fight with the school. Like when he was in the school and first encounters them.
After he's killed them all, this whole monologue he has.
Ah, okay.
About life and death.
Interesting.
Okay. Because I think that moment is really what sets off his whole journey of reshaping what he believes being strong is.
Yes, that's true. That is true. When he reflects himself over himself in the prison.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good moment. I agree with that. I think so. I'm going to do sort of a little shift. I'm going to mention a fight that low-key was probably low-key my favorite fight in the series, even though it doesn't even really count as a fight, but it was just one of my favorite moments when I read it, and I don't remember the guy's name. I'm going to be completely honest. It's the old guy when he goes to the school, or goes to the school. He's fighting the people on the bridge because he's trying to get to the mentor, Yagyu, if that rings a bell. And so because he wants to fight this a renowned swordsman who happens to be this old man who's like essentially on his deathbed, like he's laying down. So it's like the perfect moment to kill him, but the presence of Yagyu, and like right before like Musashi wants to strike, and just seeing that like Yagyu, like it looks like he's about to strike him, or it's just like he terrifies him. He literally breaks Musashi's spirit down and says, "No way, I can't win against this guy," when he's just laying down. This old man, laying down, I can't win. Which was just like, whoa, that was just a crazy encounter. And that sort of, I think, also, for Musashi, humanized him, because the whole time, Musashi's the never back down, like, even if this opponent seemed powerful, I'm going to take him out. But this old man lying down put so much terror into Musashi that he just knew, like, I can't be here. I can't be here yet. And that was just really cool to me.
Yeah, but to be fair, that old man was the former sword saint.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's an old man lying down, looks like he's sleeping or about to die.
True.
So, I mean, it was just awesome. All right, so let's go over maybe one more each, and then maybe we do like one criticism of the story. So one more favorite moment for Vagabond for you.
When Musashi fights Denshiro.
Yes! That was what I was going to mention if you didn't. Yeah, go on that. So why is that such an awesome moment?
Because like like when Denshiro like draws his sword,
mm-hmm.
and Musashi's just standing there, and he just sees himself getting cut like time and time over again.
Yes.
And if I remember this correctly, he doesn't even fight Musashi.
No. Well, actually, he does. They do like a quick duel then right after.
Yeah.
But he knows he's gonna lose.
Yeah, I think that was really cool to see, because the Yoshioka school was basically invincible, especially Densho and his brother, and to just see them bow before the newfound might of Musashi, I think that was really cool.
Yep, I 100% agree. So yeah, what you were mentioning, yeah, Denshiro, who's this swordsman who was very strong early on, and like you were saying, the Yoshioka school, and then they don't even fight for the first like couple panels, like because Denshiro, he keeps doing a different pose, like, oh, I'll do this sword style pose or something, and then he just sees what's about to happen with Musashi, even though Musashi hasn't even, or Musashi sees what's about to happen, even though he hasn't even drawn his sword yet, like, okay, I'll do this to take him out. And then Denshiro's like, okay, then I'll do this sword style pose. And then Musashi still hasn't even drawn his sword yet. It's like, okay, then I'll do this to take you out. There's like no winning. And that was really cool. I loved that. You sort of took the moment I was gonna go over YK, because that was awesome.
Yeah.
Let me think of one then off the cuff. Alright, I did like, actually, I know this is another fight, but this is the first thing that I thought of. This, his fight with Seijiro.
Ooh.
So,
yeah, that's really good.
So Seijiro is the older brother of Denshiro. Even though he looks more imposing because he's bigger, Seijiro is sort of this womanizer young guy, but he's so strong. And their first fight, Seijiro quickly looked like the superior fighter to Musashi. And then a year later, obviously with Musashi growing, getting stronger, they have their inevitable duel because Seijiro tries to stop Denshiro from fighting Musashi. So he wants to take out Musashi first to save his brother's life. So he sort of does like a backhand duel to stop the upcoming duel. And I thought that fight was actually very cool. And again, had implications later on with the 1v70 that you talked about and such.
Yeah, that fight was great.
That was great. I actually was not expecting Seijiro to die. I wasn't. I thought Musashi might win, but I actually didn't think he'd kill him. And that was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't think it was...
I actually thought Seijiro was gonna win.
See, I didn't know. I was kind of leaning Musashi, maybe. But I wouldn't have been surprised if Seijiro won. Like, with his fight with Denshiro, obviously we all knew Musashi was going to win. But Seijiro definitely was one that was a little bit more even, that we didn't necessarily know. So now real quick, do you have one criticism of the story? Like, one thing do you think, you know what, they could have done better, they could have changed this or something?
Well, except the hiatus, I think there are some background characters who deserved more development and screen time.
Could you mention one or two?
Well, for example, Otsu, because I feel like she's more important than she's made out to be.
100% agree. That's what I was actually going to say.
And then that, I think he's called a Yotaro, that little kid.
Yotaro. I don't remember his name, to be honest. Yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's called Yotaro. I feel like if he were to get more screen time, he could become a really good character. I
agree. Yep, I 100% agree with that. I was actually going to mention that with Atsu. So I said this sort of early on with the criticism is the cast itself. Aside from the main three who I touched on, Musashi, Kojiro, and Matahachi, isn't that strong. And I could have been stronger, like you were saying. I think Atsu could be a great character, but we don't get to see much of her. And then there's a lot of like one-off characters, like Inshun, the monk. Like, we see him just for briefly. We see the guy with the chain and sickle. So yeah, the cast itself, I think, could have been brought up a little bit, maybe given more development or just something, a little bit more panel time, even. But I understand that the story itself is focusing on Musashi, and it's hard to stray away from that because he is such a central point. I do think there are a few arcs that were slower, I will say. I actually think maybe it takes a little bit to get into. Like, when it first gets to the Yoshioka arc, that's when I think the story really kicks in. But, like, with Musashi hanging from the tree, like, it took a little bit to get going. Like, with him and Matahachi's mom. But, I mean, the story, it's an amazing story, really. And I highly recommend people to check it out at some point. Vagabond is acclaimed for a reason. It's one of the most acclaimed manga for a reason. It is that good. I know YK personally has it as his favorite manga. Right now, it's actually my number 3 behind Berserk and 20th Century Boys, but maybe over time, we'll see it maybe creep up, maybe creep down, but right now it is number 3, and I absolutely love it. And I just had to make a video on this, especially with you, YK, because I know how much you love this series, and I thought it would be great to discuss it with you. So thank you also for joining me today with this. YK? Oh, there you go. Alright, everybody. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I hope that you might take up Vagabond, or if you have read Vagabond, I hope you actually enjoyed this video. I know there are a few spoilers, but honestly, you guys will probably forget it if you haven't read it. I mean, just read Vagabond. It's as simple as that. Thank you, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot. I am Tiago with Attack on Tiago, and this was YK, and I hope you all have a nice day.